right here. Torture Museum at its finest. Facebook. Alrighty, see, we just entered the torture museum. As you can see, this was from way back then. There's entrances, there's things they used to torture, and this is not just fake and duplicate or fake replicas of these items they used to use. These are the real things. These are people died in these things. So let's go.
The Torture Museum. Amsterdam is a small museum in Amsterdam located near the Flower Market, aka also known as Bloem Market, which is overlooking the canal. It's noted as one of the most unusual museums because it involves torture in the medieval times. It has multiple items and displays that were used upon women and men. Usually they would get tortured by these items because, for example, women would either be accused of cheating or they would be accused of being witches, doing witchcraft stuff, and men would be accused of either lying or stealing from equipment or anything with do with money. They would get tortured, and you could feel the vibe. You could feel the vibe in these chairs or the pieces of metal or the scraps of metal that they would use on these human beings for torture. You could feel that. You could absolutely feel disgusted and sad for these humans who had to be tortured. Even a lot of innocent people that were getting accused were getting killed. And back in medieval times, a lot of people would, especially women, would be falsely accused of being witches or doing witchcraft on people, so they would get tortured. Obviously, there weren't that many laws back then, and it was a serious thing if you were to do witchcraft. But it's really scary. You could touch these equipment, these displays that they have. You could touch, you could feel it. I'm not sure if these items that are provided here in the museum are actually the ones that they used, or I believe they're just they just recreated it so you could get an example of how it was back then and how they would get tortured with those items.
The museum features a variety of interesting devices, from well-known objects like the guillotine, the rag, and the stocks, to lesser-known objects like thumb screws and the flute of shame. Also, the museum includes the Iron Maiden, a skull crusher, Judas chair, Catherine wheels, and Scott's bridle.
The museum is a maze of small, dark rooms. Each room houses one or two torture devices. Some are behind glass, but many are situated in the room and can be touched, which is absolutely amazing and awesome, but actually also disgusting because if they actually use that, people died in it. So it's a weird vibe, like I said before. But each device is accompanied with an enlarged image from the old book or article featuring that device in use as a description of the device and how and why it was used. All of the articles are in English, Dutch, French, German, Italian, and Spanish for the devices. Um, and also, the range of people who visit the museum could be able to read and understand why these torture items were being created and for what they were used.
The museum has a large influence and regularly appears in lists of the top weird museums. But also, it is regularly visited and cited in regards to the museum's extensive range of torture devices, many of which now inspire humor or become part of the pop culture. Several books mention the Torture Museum, including Torture.
So, if you're planning to go to Amsterdam or you can visit Amsterdam, I definitely recommend visiting the Torture Museum. It is absolutely cheap. You are getting your money's worth. It's interesting, it's history, and you educate yourself. Opening hours are 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily, and admission is €750 for adults and €4 for children. The museum does not offer any kind of student discount and does not accept museum passes. So, if you're in town, I definitely recommend it. You will get your money's worth. It is for absolutely history and a great cause to check out all these items. So, there it is.
Alright guys, so that was the end of this torture museum experience. It was actually hard to see. It was just really tough to read and witness everything that this place has and how they used to torture them back then. But it's a fun experience. If you guys are here in Amsterdam, make sure to come here for sure. Money's worth. Alright. So right now we're gonna go get something to eat because we are starving. Where are we going?
So hungry.
We're gonna go to a burger place that's almost 5 stars, not too far away from the torture museum, whatever you want to call it. So stay tuned for that burger because it's gonna be delicious and juicy, right?
Mm-hmm.